to my channel. I know it's been forever since I filmed. Have a puppy and he literally takes up all my time, so let's just get into this video. Today we're going to be talking about the Delphi murders, so let's get into it. Abigail was born Abigail Williams on June 23rd, 2003 in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. And she was 13 years old, and she was best friends with 14-year-old Liberty German, who was born December 27th, 2002 in Lafayette, Indiana. And the girls were, like I said, the best of friends. They were inseparable. They attended the same middle school, Delphi Community Middle School in Delphi, Indiana. And the town of Delphi is a small town. It's known for a lot of fishing and hunting. It's a very small, wholesome community. Very much alike. Everybody knows everybody. And everybody knew that Abby and Libby were the best of friends. Literally everywhere that I read, everybody was like, they were inseparable. They were literally glued to the hip. The girls had decided to have a sleepover and go the next morning to Moon High Ridge, which is a very popular hiking trail. It's also a historical site, so it's just like a nice thing to do on a Monday when they were off from school. So the next day, Abby and Libby were dropped off around 1 p.m. So the girls had agreed to be picked up by Libby's father in a couple hours. He said, you know, go for a hike, I'll be back in a few hours and I'm gonna come pick you up. The girls were having a good time. You know, by this time we have social media, so they were posting everything about their hike on social media, on Snapchat specifically. The girls, you could tell from social media that they were having a blast. They were out of school, they were together, they were hiking. They're just having like a good time. Around 2:07 p.m., there was a snapshot posted on Snapchat of Abby walking the trail. Some time passes and it's about 3:30 p.m. Derek, Libby's dad, calls and he's like, all right, it's been a few hours. He calls, but the girls don't answer their phone. So he's like, okay, well, maybe they're just walking, maybe they're having a good time and just kind of walking around, so they haven't heard my phone call, or maybe they're even ignoring it because they want to stay out a little bit longer. But after the girls not answering his calls, he decides to get out of his car and start looking for them. By 4 p.m., Derek is worried now because the girls are not answering his calls. He had gone out and started searching for them. He can't find them, and he knows that they were dropped off at this location. They knew that they were going to meet with Derek in a couple of hours to be picked up, and the girls had seemed responsible before, where, you know, if he said that he was going to pick them up in a couple hours, they would be there in a couple of hours. So Derek decides to call Libby's grandmother to see if maybe she had heard from the girls at all, and Libby's grandmother tells him that she has not heard from the girls either. So now everybody's starting to get a little bit worried because they could not get in contact with Libby or Abby. So both families, Libby's and Abby's, decide to start looking for the girls. Everybody is worried at this point. I mean, that it is a 13 and 14-year-old girl who, I mean, anything could have happened when you go hiking. Like, you could literally fall, you could break a leg. I went hiking before. It was terrible. I hated every minute of it. But I went hiking before, and it was in Costa Rica, and we were like hiking up a volcano, and I literally like almost broke my foot. And it was awful. So I know anything can happen when you're out and you're in the wilderness, you're hiking. But the family search results no luck. So now they really are panicking at this point. So they decide to get the help from the police. So they contact the police. They let them know that they had dropped off the girls around 1:30. They have not been able to get in contact with them. They have not heard from them. Nobody has heard from them. And even with the search that they tried doing, they couldn't find the girls. So the police intervene around 5:30 p.m. and a search begins for Abigail and Libby. The search lasts all throughout the night, and still there's no luck of finding Abigail and Libby. So at around midnight, the police decide to call off the search for the night. I mean, it's nighttime, they can't see anything, and they say, you know what, we're going to continue the search tomorrow in the morning. Obviously, both families are terrified at this point. They don't know where the girls are. It's been all night, and now even the police is saying it's too dark, we're going to have to come back in the morning. The The next day, on Valentine's Day 2017, the search continues, and this time with search dogs to help aid the search for Abigail and Libby. They also had divers, they had recruited the FBI to come and help, and around 12 p.m. a discovery was made. The bodies of two girls, they found the bodies of two girls around a half-mile away from where they were dropped off at Moon Ridge. Those bodies they found were Abigail and Liberty. So at this point, we know that the girls unfortunately are no longer alive. So autopsies were done for both of the girls. And in a press conference held by the Indiana State Police and Carroll County Sheriff's Office Department, they confirmed that the bodies that had been found were those of Abigail and Liberty. So at this point, a homicide investigation begins. And, you know, I think from what I was reading, even still now, there is no full disclosure of how exactly Abby and Libby passed away. But what we do know is that they start a homicide investigation. A photograph of a man was released to the public, and he's shown walking on the trail at the same time as Abby and Libby. You can kind of see him from the back. And this photo circulates, and at this time they're saying, this man is not a suspect. He is just, you know, a person of interest that we want to talk to. Maybe he saw the girls. Maybe he knows what happened. Maybe he has some context clues or can give a time of reference of when he last saw the girls. The photograph of that man was taken from Libby's phone and posted on Snapchat. Besides the photo of this man, there was also a video that was taken from Libby's phone as well. And in the video, you can hear the man that is in the original photograph that's kind of behind them say, "Down the hill."
Down the hill. Guys.
Libby decides to take a video of it, and I think that that says a lot. I think that the girls maybe were suspicious of the guy, or kind of just maybe freaked out a little bit, or just kind of like, maybe that guy has been following them for a little bit. So they take a picture of him, and they also start recording him, which is like phenomenal thinking of these girls. And remember, they're 13 and 14-year-old girls, they're children. And for them to make that decision to record the man, take his picture from, even though it's far away, like he is, you know, we get a general sense of what he may or may not look like. Like, for them to do that is incredibly smart thinking on the girls. So the guy in the video, police say they're looking for a white male, middle-aged, and a sketch was released what the police thought this man looked like. A man named Daniel Nations was a person of interest. He had been arrested in Colorado for threatening people with a hatchet on various trails and possibly a shooting on a trail as well. So he's a very strong person of interest. You know, the girls were on a trail. He seems to like to commit crimes on trails for whatever reason. So the police end up stating that Nations could not be counted as a suspect nor discounted as a suspect. At this time, they had nothing proving that he had any involvement, but they also couldn't disprove anything. So he's just kind of there lingering in the background as a potential suspect. There were also two other men that were considered suspects, but they were later ruled out as not being involved in the death of Abby and Libby. On April 22nd, 2019, an updated photograph sketch of the man in the video was released to the public. And this sketch, the guy looks much younger than the original sketch, and police say that this sketch is a lot more accurate than the original one that had been posted. In this one, they state that the suspect could be anywhere between the ages of 18 years old and 40 years old, and that's kind of a big gap. It's a very big gap to say 18 to 40. It's a big pool of people. But if you look at the sketches, the second sketch looks completely different than the first sketch. Like, the second sketch, the guy does look younger, and I don't know. It's like, from the video and from the picture that was posted on Libby's Snapchat, like, you can't really see him. He's looking down a little bit. So you can't tell. Like, the guy, he could be maybe younger, he could be older, I don't know. So the same month, a longer video and audio clip was released that had been recorded from Libby's phone. And in this video, you can see the gait of the man and how he walks. So the gait is basically how you walk. So if you walk normally, you have a steady gait. If you have a little bit of a limp, then you would refer to that person as having an unsteady gait. Been many suspects for the murder of Abigail and Liberty. And again, you know, all we know is that they were murdered. We don't know anything else because we don't know exactly how they died. There are no, you know, from everything that I was looking, doesn't say anywhere exactly how the girls died. All we know is they are considering this a homicide, and so we know that the girls were unfortunately murdered. But this year, 2021, a 10-year-old girl is reported missing 20 miles away from Delphi in Lafayette. A neighbor of the little girl that went missing, James Chadwell, had been questioned by the police because they went around to all the neighbors questioning people. And they arrived at the house of James Chadwell. And James Chadwell tells the police that the little girl that had been missing was at his house earlier that day, but that she had left. And, you know, the police are like, okay, like, that's weird. Like, why is this 10-year-old girl visiting your house? So Chadwell unbelievably lets the police into his house, where they go downstairs to the basement and find the 10-year-old girl. When they went, the basement had a lock on it. And when the police are like, well, why does your basement have a lock? And he just opens the basement door and lets them go downstairs. And again, like I said, they find this 10-year-old little girl. She looks distraught, scared, understandably so. And when the police get to the little girl, she's crying. She's telling them that Chadwell tried to kill her. And so the police arrest James Chadwell. So currently, James Chadwell faces charges of kidnapping, strangulation, child molestation, and attempted murder of this 10-year-old little girl. Everywhere this year, I have seen on my own social media, everywhere on like blogs and articles even. I listened to Jensen and Hole's like the Murder Squad podcast, love Paul Holes. But even they were talking about James Chadwell potentially being a person of interest. He looks kind of like the sketch that had gone out. It's very close. It's 20 miles away from where the girls were murdered. He has, you know, these charges of kidnapping a little girl who's not too far off away from the ages of Abigail and Liberty. And so everywhere this year, I have seen people saying that he is possibly the murderer, that he has something to do with it. And so many people think that he looks like the guy in the video. And I don't know, honestly. Like, he does kind of look like the guy in the video. He also kind of looks like the sketch. But there is no definitive link between James Chadwell and the Delphi murders. Like, there's nothing concrete, there's nothing definitive. I think that, I mean, we're in July. I think that when they arrested him, they definitely fingerprinted him. I don't know if they've compared his fingerprints to the Delphi murders, if there even is DNA that could be compared to. I don't know. I mean, I think we're all kind of hoping that he is, and that way we can kind of finally give the family some closure to this case, but I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, we know for a fact, though, that James Chadwell is disgusting scum, and thank God he's arrested, but I don't know. I don't know if it's a jump to say that because he committed this horrendous crime to this 10-year-old little girl and it wasn't too far away, that he also committed the Delphi murders. I don't know. But I mean, there could be, right? There could be a link. He could be the person responsible, but we just really don't know. I guess we have to continue to wait and see if anything happens. I mean, like I said earlier, I honestly hope that he is the one. Just so we could, you know, get some closure, get some justice for the girls. But as of now, the case does remain unsolved. So let's get into some theories on what potentially could have happened to Abigail and Liberty. So the first theory is that someone who had been following either one or both of the girls followed them to the trail, stalked them on the trail, and murdered them. And this could be true. I mean, maybe somebody knew the girls, maybe, or one of them, right? And they wanted to, I don't know, there's so many things. Maybe they wanted to sexually assault one or two of the girls and the other one happened to be there. And so they had to murder both of the girls so as to not leave any witnesses. Maybe it was somebody that they knew where the girls were going to be at the trail that day and followed them there. And, you know, I think if it was just for one of the girls, then it's somebody that they knew. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I believe this. I mean, anything could be true. We really don't know. It could be someone they knew. It could not be. But I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. Who would the girls have told, really, you know, that they were going on a trail and they were going to be there and what time? I don't know, unless, like, the theory that I've read online that many people think is that it's somebody that they knew. They were, you know, following them. They've been stalking them for a couple days and then they finally decided to act. So the second theory is that it was a stranger and they happened to be at the same place as Libby and Abby and they decided to kill both the girls. And I think this is the theory that I believe the most. I think that unfortunately it was circumstances and opportunity, or, you know, maybe they were on the trail already looking for somebody when they saw Abigail and Libby and said, you know, this is my opportunity, and decided to act on that. I think that's the most plausible. I think that if the girls knew, like the first theory that it was somebody they knew, I mean, it could be, but I think that it must be somebody that they don't know that well, because when the girls are recording him and taking pictures of him, they're not saying like, oh, this is somebody we know. Like, it seems more as if they don't know who this person is and they're a little creeped out by him, or they're getting bad vibes from him, and that's why they decide to take a picture of him. That's why they decide to record. So I definitely think this leads more to a stranger. And I also think it makes a lot more sense to me personally, I don't know, that that person was already on the trail when he came across Abby and Libby. Another theory that I read a lot online is that they think that it could possibly be Libby's grandfather, because he kind of has the same build as the person in the video. However, Liberty's grandfather was at work during the murder, so I would exclude this theory. Again, and I always say this in every video, I don't know. I don't have the answers. I wish I did, but I really, guys, I don't think it's the grandfather. I'm the guy, I'm fucking telling you, he was a stranger. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it was a stranger that just happened to be there. And then, of course, the theory that's come out this year is that it was James Chadwell. He's the guy in the video. He happened to be at the trail at the same time as Abby and Libby and decided to, you know, act out on them and ultimately murder them. I don't know. Again, I think that it could be James Chadwell. I'll say this like 100 times in this video. I hope it is him, just so we can find some closure. But I really just think, unfortunately, Abby and Libby were at the wrong place at the wrong time, and they happened to cross paths with a monster, and I don't think it was somebody that they knew. I think it was a stranger. As of today, it continues to be open. Hopefully we have some closure on the girls' case. Hopefully we can get some justice for Abigail and for Liberty, and some closure for the family. But guys, that's it. That's the Delphi murders. I will see you guys next time for my next video. I'm thinking, I don't know. I was thinking of maybe doing Richard Ramirez or maybe doing The Boy in the Box. I don't know. Leave me your comments. Leave me your suggestions. Let me know what video you want to see next. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.